Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Tasmania's budget blowout has been softened despite initial grim predictions of a devastating deficit. The Premier says it's welcome news, but has warned the possibility of future virus outbreaks could threaten to unravel the state's progress.
With the worst of Tasmania's pandemic hopefully over, businesses like SPREYTON Fresh are finally seeing the fruits of their labour.
We were fortunate that we were able to make hand sanitizer. We're eternal optimists, I think farmers are. I think you have to be.
Treasury is also feeling optimistic, today releasing its updated budget forecast.
The numbers that I'm releasing are an improvement on what we were originally forecasting back in May.
When those initial figures were released, Tasmania was facing a $700 million deficit and net debt of more than $600 million. Those figures have been revised down today, now $273 million and $178 million.
I don't want to sugarcoat this. These are difficult and challenging times.
Peter Gutwin has credited the building blitz, closed borders and recovery measures for softening the budget black hole. But he admits JobKeeper and JobSeeker are muddying the picture. Also adding doubt is the Victorian crisis, the possibility of another outbreak, when our borders will reopen, when tourists will return, and Tasmania's stake in the GST.
I would expect that there will be a significant impact on the GST pool moving forward.
Labor argues the figures from May weren't reliable to begin with.
Even the Treasury Department called out the Premier and said this May report is so unpredictable and it's so hard to produce a set of reliable figures that the May document and the May predictions really should be dismissed.
The full budget is still expected to be handed down in November. MCCOMISH, 7 Tasmania News.
New tourism figures have shed light on the pandemic's devastating impacts in Tasmania. Bureau of Statistics data out today found just 10 short-term visitors arrived from overseas in June, down 99.7% from last year. During that same period, no international students came to Tasmania, a big drop compared to the 430 people in June 2019. And the Nurses Union has called for major changes in aged care facilities after a new report exposed flaws within a prominent Tasmanian provider. Union Branch Secretary Emily Shepherd says Southern Cross Care, which manages 9 facilities across the state, needs to prioritise the wellbeing of staff and residents over profits. The report claims the not-for-profit reported $2 million in losses and paid board members close to $1.5 million, while having $26 million in the bank.
We're of the view that every cent from the federal government that is given to aged care providers to provide care to residents must be used to deliver care.
Southern Cross Care did not wish to comment. There are new details tonight about a man who was forced into hotel quarantine after sailing into Beauty Point. It has emerged the 39-year-old is a Tasmanian resident who travelled from a virus hotspot, but officials say he's done nothing wrong.
Docked at the TAMAR Yacht Club and fenced off from the public after a mercy dash to escape Australia's COVID capital.
We heard there was a boat coming in from Victoria, contacted the police. He was originally going to another mooring, but he changed his mind to come here.
The vessel, named Tangaroa, making the long journey across Bass Strait. The man behind the sails, a 39-year-old Tasmanian, who bystanders say did all the right things.
He had arranged it before, so he had a good-to-go card. There was no problem at all.
Authorities agree, escorting him into a government hotel for mandatory isolation, but clearing him of any wrongdoing.
This person had the good sense to check before making that journey.
The Commodore of the Beauty Point Club says it's the first time he's seen an interstate vessel sail into the Tamar River since the coronavirus took hold.
We've had no visitors.
Our tight border management has never been about mode of transport, about safety of Tasmanians.
The boat will stay berthed here at the marina for the immediate future until its owner finishes hotel quarantine. It's unclear if it will now have to undergo a deep clean, a tale many would consider astonishing, not so in the eyes of the everyday yachtie.
A trip across Bass Strait's reasonably routine. It's done a lot.
Garth, BURLEY, 7 Tasmania News.
Investigators are still unsure what caused a tragic crash which claimed the life of a father and daughter at Kingston yesterday morning. A 42-year-old man and a 2-year-old girl died at the scene following the collision involving a bus and 3 cars. Police don't believe alcohol, drugs or speed are factors in the collision. Any witnesses or those with dashcam footage are urged to come forward. One of Tasmania's most iconic attractions, Mona, is treating locals to a mysterious dining experiment to bring the museum back to life. And as work continues to fully reopen the site in the coming months, staff say they're confident the gallery can survive even without a flurry of paying tourists.
It's a feature as iconic as Mona itself. This giant sphere overlooking the museum's quirky restaurant, now prepared to reopen to the public after months of empty seats.
Our art and our food and our wine experience, and it's very exciting to be back and bringing our staff back on board and just bringing some energy back into the place.
Fully closing in March due to COVID-19 restrictions, Mona is reeling locals back in by offering a range of mystery lunch and dinners at Faro.
The weekly menus are unknown. They are an experiment with this live music curated by Brian Ritchie every day. So different local musicians, and that's another fantastic benefit because we can engage with our local musicians who've had it pretty tough over the last 5 or 6 months.
Just this small wing of the museum will be open to the experimental guests, with an exact date to fully reopen to Tasmanians still on the drawing board.
Currently, we will open later in the year, and there's a lot of work being done. David referenced a mess that we've made in the gallery, which we're tidying up, and there will be some fantastic, exciting stuff to see.
But despite the potential of no paying tourists, Tasmanians will still get in for free.
No, we won't be charging locals. David's made that commitment many times. He's guaranteeing Mona's sustainability in the future, and we're putting things in place to assist that.
And while this year's wintry Dark Mofo Festival was canned, the annual summer celebration is still set to go ahead.
We're working on Mona Foma currently. Of course, you would appreciate that they are unknown times, and there will be amazing sort of challenges that the curators will face.
The Faro experiments will run for the next 6 weeks, with only a few spaces left. Ruby COMMANE, 7 Tasmania News.
One of the nation's largest maritime celebrations has abandoned ship, joining Tasmania's long list of cancelled events. COVID-19 claiming the Australian Wooden Boat Festival, originally scheduled for next February. Organisers say restrictions and uncertainty interstate made it too difficult to come up with an alternative plan.
We had a fenced event or smaller events with highly controlled crowds and fencing and extra security, and eventually it just started to look less and less like the Wooden Boat Festival that everybody knows and loves.
The biennial festival usually draws around 200,000 people over 4 days. Well, after 20 years of planning, Australia's largest flight aviary has opened in Tasmania. The facility was designed to help rehabilitate injured birds of prey and also educate locals about how they can help protect the threatened species.
They're birds Tasmanians are used to seeing high in the sky. The wedge-tailed eagle, one of 13 raptors to call the state home. And the fight to protect them has just been bolstered. The speciality flight aviary opening its doors.
Big birds, big aviaries, they need to get fit, and we need to get them back into the wild. So the bigger the aviary, the fitter they can get, and the sooner we can get them back out in the wild.
20 years in the making. The Raptor Refuge includes different enclosures, all tailored to each species' needs, from the smaller birds right through to the 52-metre-long eagle facility. Visitors getting up close and personal on an observation deck, right inside the habitat.
Not just about rehabilitation of birds, it's about raising awareness why these birds are coming into problems in the first place. So it's really important, it's really vital work.
Tas Network's throwing its support behind the project.
Where we have a strike, we'll go in and put visual aids to ensure that there's not a recurrence of a strike. As we start to build out more infrastructure, we are starting to update our design standards.
The centre is logging data of incidents involving birds across Tasmania in the hope of putting measures in place to protect declining populations.
Now we're getting post-mortemed on it, we're finding out what happened to it, and we're actually putting the jigsaw together and we're getting results.
The site is now open to visitors by appointment. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanians are slowly returning to public transport as coronavirus restrictions ease. Metro says in the weeks following the state of emergency declaration, passenger numbers slumped to just 20% of 2019 figures. But as Tasmania continues on its road to recovery, travellers are hopping back on the bus.
Tasmanians are coming back to Metro, and we want to say thank you to them for supporting our business and for getting on public transport. This equates to around 30,000 journeys each and every day in Tasmania.
We sanitise the bus in the morning before they go out, every bus, before its first journey. We then re-sanitise the buses in the middle of the day before they go out for the afternoon journey.
Despite lifting restrictions, anyone feeling unwell is still advised to avoid public transport.
Launceston will try to patch up old wounds in the TSLW Grand Final rematch against Clarence tomorrow. The Blues are so keen to put the loss behind them, it hasn't been spoken about in this week's build-up. Launceston won every game last year, except the Grand Final. The topic is now taboo for the Blues. Captain DEARNE Taylor says she isn't drawing on the loss to inspire her side.
Not really, to be honest, but I think deep inside everyone's kind of, dwelling on that a bit.
The once invincible Blues suffered a 4-goal loss to Glenorchy last week, but impending rain might swing the pendulum back in Launceston's favour.
It might actually be good for us. It might slow them down a little bit.
Clarence star Amy Prokopiece has propelled the Roos to a flawless start so far. She's eyeing off the AFLW draft after spending time at the competition's elite academy.
Got away into Darwin into January before all the COVID stuff and with the National Academy. And then I've been able to come back and play for the club, so it's been a big year for me.
Elsewhere, Olympia is starting to click after a horror start to the season. Last weekend's win over Riverside snapped a series of losses.
With the way the season was and we had a lot of new players, we just didn't get many opportunities to play.
The Warriors are favourites to topple Launceston City, but in a shortened season, there's added pressure.
I don't think we can afford to lose any more games, which sounds crazy, doesn't it?
And Richie Port's top 10 finish in the Criterium de Dauphiné had an added bonus. It meant Port avoided a stunning hailstorm, which flattened riders still stuck on the climb. Some in the peloton ended up with painful welts from the freak event. Even Port's post-race media was ominous.
I mean, there's quite a few colder ports, so it was quite nice, but to be honest, it didn't really cross my mind there because it was so hard.
The Tasmanian is 10 seconds behind yellow jersey holder Primož Roglic in the overall standings.
Good evening. It wasn't actually clear and really sunny around the state today, but temperatures were up to 5 above average. Hobart 15, Launceston 17, Burnie 12 and Devonport 16. Strawn top of the list with 19 today. Flinders Island 18 degrees, King Island and Smithton 16, Low Head, Grove and Bushy Park 15, St Helens and Friendly Beaches 14 degrees. Convective cloud over the state today. Best rainfall to 3 p.m. was 12 millimetres at Grey, and in the previous 24 hours to 9 a.m, Grey also had the best, 83 millimetres. Now here's the broader picture with low cloud extending inland across southern parts of the country, cloud linked to a trough over Queensland and New South Wales. Tomorrow a low deepens off New South Wales, and with the high to our west, an easterly airstream will prevail over Tasmania. And those winds will blow up to 10 to 15 knots before increasing to 10 to 20 knots over the east and south. A flood watch has been issued for northern, eastern and southeastern river catchments. Forecast for tomorrow as we kick into the weekend: Hobart showery and 15, 14 for Medina, just 12 for Oatlands and a little bit of wet weather. Launceston 16 with showers easing. Showers clearing from Devonport, 15 the high and 9 the top for Lyowini. Burnie expecting a maximum of 14 degrees and showery. Strawn a few showers and 16 tomorrow, 14 for Marrawar. And in the east, 15 for St Helens, Swansea 15, Orford 15, all with a little bit of shower activity. On Sunday, showers easing from the north and west, rain continuing over the east though. Showers into Monday, although not much over the north. And on Tuesday, we look at the map there, showers over the north and west extending across the state in the afternoon. Showers and a possible storm in Perth tomorrow, a shower or two in Adelaide and Melbourne. That low off the coast also bringing wet weather to Sydney and Brisbane. And it's cloudy all over at the moment, and most of the population centres on 12. You mentioned Mystic Journey running tomorrow at Caulfield. Another Tassie horse called Shahitsi is running as well. My best bet of the day, I'm having 50 cents on Viridine. Get on, Kim.
OK, thanks, Murph. I will get on and we'll get off, and you can catch Louise and the team this weekend. Thanks for joining us tonight. See you Monday. Good night.